Welcome to the Mindful Healers podcast with Dr. Jessie Mahoney.
And Dr. Ni-Cheng Liang.
We are physicians and leaders who are also trained in coaching, yoga, mindfulness, and integrative medicine.
We are also mothers, spouses, sisters, daughters, aunts, and friends.
In this podcast, we share candid, heart-centered, loving, science-based, thoughtful, and often fun conversations about the challenges life throws at us.
With our collective experience of over 30 years in physician and personal wellness, we reflect and offer pearls of wisdom for navigating life's challenges with more ease.
From parenting, marriages, money scarcity, cancer survivorship, uncertainty, challenges in practicing medicine, we cover it all.
We invite you to refresh your perspective and empower yourself with mindset, mindfulness, and other well-being tools that actually work. A quick reminder that nothing in our podcast is medical advice.
Welcome to today's episode, a special episode popped in between our usual episodes because it's about taxes. From dread to neutral, what taxes taught me about trust, control, and peace. And I am recording this the day before tax day because this year is the first year that I have really had a breakthrough around taxes, and I thought it would be worth sharing with all of you. What if your anxiety about taxes is really about something deeper? And for most of us, when we even begin to talk about taxes, we have a little chest tension and maybe a little bit of stress. Maybe our heart rate goes up. Maybe we breathe a little more shallowly. We get a little fidgety or anxious. And so taking a moment at the outset of this episode to reconnect with your breath. If it's safe to do so, pause and close your eyes. If you're driving, please keep your eyes open. And take a few deep breaths laden with compassion, kindness, non-judgment, hope, and inspiration. Maybe taxes could be different going forward. If it would feel good and it's safe, bring a hand to heart, pressing into the heart space, releasing some oxytocin for listening to this conversation, gifting yourself some access to your amygdala and your higher brain, gifting yourself a sense of calm and grounded. So why are taxes so emotionally loaded? If your eyes are closed, open them. If your hand is on your heart, bring it back down to wherever's comfortable. So taxes are not just about money. They're not just about the government. They're not just about what the government chooses to spend our money on. For most of us, in the midst of taxes are money issues, but also shame, blame, perfectionism, a fear of being wrong, making a mistake, doing something wrong, and maybe even our perception of success. They often surface anxiety, self-doubt, catastrophizing, and a lot of imposter syndrome. And this is especially true for women and physicians. We are trained to overfunction and under-ask for help. We are trained to catastrophize. We are trained to doubt ourselves. We are trained to be anxious and feel like imposters. We are trained to have shame, blame, and guilt. We're trained to be perfectionistic. We tend to fear making a mistake. And we tend to have very high expectations and definitions of success. And so when taxes come up, they begin to reflect our relationship with many things beyond taxes. They reflect our relationship with money. They reflect our relationship with control. They reflect our relationship with trust, and they reflect our relationship with self-worth. So a little bit about my own personal journey with taxes as a background to this conversation, and I will share with you shortly what I have learned over the last few years. So, I am someone who did my own taxes and our family's taxes by myself for 25 years with no help because I believed that being in control meant safety. I also didn't want to pay someone else to do them. I thought I could do them. And what if they made a mistake? I thought that I needed to do it all to be responsible and to take charge. And because I was smart, I had a deep rooted fear of asking for help. And how could you trust someone? And this idea of scarcity and not wanting to spend money on someone else handling taxes for you. And absolutely a fear of making a mistake or getting it wrong or hiring the wrong person or even having them know maybe what I didn't know. Though I will say, after doing taxes for all these years, I'm quite good at taxes. And in fact, my aging mom has asked me to come and do her taxes. And what I've discovered, which is funny because I always said I was never good with money, I'm never good with taxes, and actually I'm a whiz at it. But I digress. When I started Pause and Presence 5-ish plus years ago, I had to get help with taxes. I actually did it myself the first year. But what I've discovered when you have an LLC and now an S Corp, taxes are a whole new world. They're incredibly complex and not something that I want to choose to spend my time learning. Though I must say, I do like to understand and I do like to learn, but I also want and need help. So, in the process of finding someone to help me with taxes, I have cycled through multiple CPAs, and I see all the time in lots of physician groups people looking for a CPA. And I have a bit of a theory about this that I had trouble communicating with the first two CPAs that I found. Um, One, I'm not really sure that he was good, but either way, his communication was extremely difficult. And he was not used to communicating with someone who wanted to understood and who had done her taxes herself for all these years and liked to know how it worked. The second one was actually a brilliant tax strategist, but didn't have time to explain anything. I was just supposed to trust him. And in that trusting and lack of explanation, I felt like things were getting missed. And either way, I felt very anxious and out of control. So neither is a good fit. And I want to point out that CPAs are kind of like coaches in that you need someone who's a good fit. You need someone who you can be vulnerable with. You need someone who you can communicate calmly and peacefully with. You need someone who understands where you are, where you're starting, where you'd like to go, and what kind of a person you want to be. What kind of a relationship do you want to have with money, taxes? And taxes actually impact so many other decisions in your life that it's really a microcosm of decision making and how you want to make decisions and how you want to live your life. Some people don't want to pay any attention to it and they want to live their life not knowing, and that's fine too. We're all different. And so just like in coaching, where it's very much a strategic choice, you must find someone with whom you connect. You must find someone with whom you feel like it's a good fit and someone that you are willing to be vulnerable with because it's really a growth process. And so I have actually found someone that this year taxes are a completely different experience. Someone who can explain things, someone who understands my stress and anxiety about it, someone who understands that I am well versed in the language and want to have some degree of control. And I want to understand how it works so that I can make good decisions and live my life in alignment. And so it isn't just about finding an expert. It's about how you want to feel in your life when things are hard and unfamiliar, especially. And in those instances, when things are hard, you want someone who's a good fit. So I want to share the lessons that I have learned through taxes, that things taxes taught me that have nothing to do with taxes. So, number one, You can be empowered without doing it all yourself. Overfunctioning is not a badge of honor. Trust is strength. And being able to receive takes courage and is brave. Number two, financial clarity is emotional clarity. When you understand where your money is going, it's easier to align your time, your energy, and your values. So many of us avoid money, avoid taxes, avoid these conversations because of discomfort. And yet, when you have financial clarity, you have emotional clarity. It's kind of like minimalism. When you clean out your house, you have emotional calm as well as physical calm. And really, finances and money are no different than all the other decisions that we make. We give them so much stories and energy. And for many of us, our stories and energy came from our families as well. Number three, perfectionism and right or wrong thinking do not lead to peace. And they do not lead to a healthy relationship with taxes. You might think, well, you have to be perfect. You have to understand. You have to know it all. You can allow someone else to know it all. You can allow someone else to help you. And actually, even in taxes, just as in life, there's very rarely a right or a wrong way to do it. Most of us in medicine are optimizers. So we want to get it all right, exactly right, not pay a penny more, etc. This actually causes us a lot more stress and anxiety. And if you put a monetary value on that, we probably are losing money. So there is no right way. There's only aligned ways. There are wrong ways, obviously, cheating, but generally, most people are trying to do it right and trying to make the right decision. And compassion for yourself is going to allow you to change your relationship with taxes and money into a much healthier relationship where you can actually stay out of avoiding, stay out of catastrophizing, stay out of your lizard fight or flight brain and anxiety and stress when it comes to these topics. So compassion actually matters the most. Number four is one of my favorites. So neutral. Neutral is actually how I want to feel about taxes. And I often tell people neutral is amazing. We don't have to love taxes. We don't have to enjoy them. We don't have to think they're amazing, but we don't have to fear them, avoid them, and feel sick and anxious when it comes to that. We can be informed and aware and intentional and deliberate. When you feel neutral, it's much easier. So you don't have to love every part of it. Even like running a business, there are parts of it that are um, a lot, but we can be neutral about them. They don't have to define us. When you meet things like taxes and other things that are hard in growth areas where you may not have control and you may not have all the understanding that you want, when you show up with calm, clarity, and presence, the experience is completely different. And what I would offer is that neutral is calm, clarity, and presence. So this isn't being Pollyanna about taxes. It's just letting go of the unhelpful narratives and the old default reactive patterns that are making them harder than they need to be. Number five, everything is a practice. So trust is a practice. And trust is one of the most challenging things when it comes to taxes. Trusting yourself to do it right, trusting someone else to help you. For many people, trusting your partner to do it right or to have the right paperwork and all of these things is really fascinating. My parents have been married for almost 60 years, and there's a whole lot of stories going on there with taxes. And I recognized actually when helping my mom with taxes, I was like, wow, I have some of these stories too. It's the awareness. When you bring the awareness and you bring the presence and you bring the mindfulness to it, it changes. So remembering trust, remembering communication, mindful communication, intentional communication, deliberate communication, and remembering tools for mindful communication, which for those of you who have worked with me or heard some of my leadership talks will know these, but being intentional and strategic with the energy you show up for the communications with your CPA, for the communications with your spouse, um, And for the communications with yourself, even about taxes, thinking about the energy and tone you want to bring to those conversations because they change how you are able to think clearly, whether you'll be able to absorb what someone else is saying when you're learning something new. It reminds me about taxes as something that, like, when we give a patient a not fantastic diagnosis, they don't hear anything we say. And I think for many people in medicine, when we start talking about taxes or money, they feel the same way. And so taking back some agency and choice comes when you show up communicating mindfully, trusting, being present, calm, and clear. Self-compassion is the other one. Having self-compassion for whatever your relationship with taxes has been, whatever your parents' relationship with taxes has been, whatever your relationship with how much money you make is. There's so many other levels of judgment that come up when doing taxes. And so leaning hard into self-compassion, hand to heart, pausing and breathing, reminding yourself you're doing the best you can and you are making the best decisions in the moment that you can with the information, experience, wisdom, help, and support that you have available to you. And number six, asking for help is not a weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength. It's a bold act of alignment. And that is one thing that I have noticed is that I allowed myself to continue to find someone who I could work with, who felt very aligned, someone who my husband could also work with, someone who was willing to teach me, and someone who was calm and compassionate. Um, May he be the best tax strategist? I have no idea. But what I would like to do is be direct, honest, kind, clear, and calm when I do my taxes. And there is a value to that. And my thought after working through this over the last 6 to 9 months, as I switched people and reorganized everything, is that actually it's much more likely to be accurate and much more likely to be well thought out. And I feel much more calm and confident in making monetary decisions as I move forward. And all this, I would like to add, came in a year when I sold a house and bought a house and moved my entire life. And as many of you know, when you are selling a house and buying a house, you often have to move things around financially, which triggers all kinds of tax things. So this year is probably my most complicated taxes ever in my life. And I feel the most neutral and the most calm. And so to me, that just shows this tremendous inner growth. And as I see it, it's a growth around tax, around trust. It's a growth around communication. It's a growth in the area of self-compassion. I think I'm rocking neutral. And I have really let go of this idea of right and wrong thinking and catastrophizing and the benefit of not thinking that way on my emotional state and my neurochemical soup has allowed me access to ask better questions, to communicate better, to think about it in a different way. And I don't know that I enjoy taxes, but I do always think of it as kind of a puzzle. And there's absolutely a relief when they are turned in. So when you ask for help, whether it's with taxes or with coaching or with anything else that you're honestly trying to change in your life, it's a sign of strength and it can impact so many other things. And so, what I see as my evolution in this tax journey is very much mirroring my evolution in my coaching journey and taking ownership and agency for all of the things in my life. And what I'll say is one by one. You can't take on all of them all at once, but you can continue to grow. I very often talk about peeling an onion, and maybe the outer edge of the onion is burnout with your job, or maybe the outer edge of the onion is challenges in your marriage, or maybe the outer edge of the onion is parenting. And you peel that off, and then you get to the next layer, which might be one of the others. And then the next layer, money is in there for everyone. Your relationship with your body is in there for everyone. For almost everyone, your relationship with your mother is in there too. And all of these same thought patterns that we talk about here pop up, and mindfulness and being strategic and intentional and deliberate is tremendously powerful. So, a few other thoughts here. taxes are really a mirror as to how you show up for everything in your life. So the way you show up for taxes mirrors the way you show up for other difficult things. And if you take ownership and control over those, even to the degree of asking help, getting help, things shift. We always grip tightly to what we fear and we avoid what feels hard. But what is the cost of that? And healing your relationship with money and scarcity and anxiety around taxes and investing and all of those things is not about mastery. It's about mindfulness. It's about presence. It's about trust. It's about self-compassion. It's about kindness. It's about the stories you tell, generous stories. And the same tools that help with money and taxes help with relationships and transitions and leadership, or vice versa. In my case, the same tools that I use to help me pivot in my career and move and elevate my marital relationship has helped me tremendously in my relationship with money and taxes. So hopefully this conversation has been a little bit of a fun interlude on tax day. A few reflection questions for you. What stories do you carry about money, taxes, or responsibility? Where are you still over functioning? Is it around money? Is it around caring for people? Is it around having to do things yourself? How might things change if you stopped over functioning and simply functioned? Where might you want to allow more trust? Allow others to support you? And where might you like to soften in? What would shift if you let go of the need to be right and to not make a mistake? What if you could make a mistake, in quotes, and it would turn out okay? What if you stopped catastrophizing? Who would you be if you were not always catastrophizing? Again, could you catastrophize discerningly? So maybe in the OR, or if you're in the ER, catastrophize there. But maybe taxes is not the place for that. And could neutrality be a win? So feeling neutral, whether it's about money, whether it's about your job, whether it's about your mother or your partner, we always have to pass through neutral to get to feeling good. And remembering that for some things, feeling good isn't the appropriate response anyway. So maybe we don't want to feel happy about taxes. We can feel happy that they're done. But maybe just honoring this idea of neutrality. I think back to kids getting vaccines, right? If you could just be neutral about the vaccines, you're never going to like them. Um, that is great. And you like the fact that you got them and how they help you. So similarly, where might you like to bring neutral into your life? For many of you who I know have tremendous scarcity issues around money, neutral is amazing. Um, so hopefully this conversation has led you to a few epiphanies around money and taxes. I am asked often to coach on money and to do more podcasts on money. And so this one was inspired by getting my taxes done today. Please let it be a gentle invitation that healing your relationship with taxes might not sound revolutionary, but it might be. And maybe your version isn't taxes. Maybe it's something else about money or wasting money or paying for help. Um, Noticing what you still might like to heal your relationship with. And that when you find peace around something that has caused you angst over a lifetime, you can come to peace with so many other things. And very often it's not the thing, it's not the taxes, it's something underlying. So in my case, it's peace around money and a scarcity mindset. but it's also finding peace around control and things that are maybe not in my control, and peace with getting help, and peace with the parts of life that feel overwhelming or are not in my area of expertise. And so finding peace with things outside of my comfort zone and finding a path forward that feels empowered. And let this also be a gentle invitation that mindfulness and coaching literally help with everything. If they can help me with taxes, I promise they can help you with anything. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. And when you find something that helps you in one area, you can bring it to the other really sticky area. Whether your sticky area is taxes or money or a relationship or your work or a colleague. When you learn the tools in one area, you can move them to another area. And really, what that takes is attention to coaching and working with someone, because the metaphors and the relationships are often challenging to see, but once you see them, you can't unsee them. They're a mirror. And very often, the transformation that you're looking for around something like money and taxes doesn't have to be fireworks. It doesn't have to be amazing. It can simply be finding neutral. Neutral is truly amazing. So thank you for joining me for this extra special Tax Day podcast. If it resonated, please share the episode with others. Reach out if you would like to delve into mindfulness and coaching, whether you want to work on taxes, money scarcity, jobs, or a relationship. You are not alone on this journey of life. We are all just practicing. Until next time, may you meet whatever feels hard and out of control and out of your area of expertise with grace. And may you find a path to peace. Thanks so much for listening. We would really, truly appreciate if you would leave us a written review. We've gotten several amazing ones recently, and the more written reviews and the more 5-star reviews we have, the more the podcast gets promoted to other people and other people can find it. So let this be a bit of an ask. Would you please, please, please help us get the word out about the podcast? Share it with someone, leave us a written review, leave us some lots and lots of stars. We would be most, most, most appreciative. We will see you next week.
Thanks so much for joining us.
We encourage you to dive into the show notes for each episode for more learnings and resources.
We also invite you to take a listen to the many other Mindful Healers podcast episodes, and please share the podcast far and wide with colleagues, friends, and family.
If our message and approach resonate with you, we would love to work with you.
When you listen to a podcast, you consume information, but when you work with us, you can actually practice and change.
We offer coaching and mindfulness experiences, talks, workshops, retreats, and more. Connect with us at themindfulhealerspodcast.com.
The content of this podcast is not medical or life advice. We invite you to participate in the mindful moments we offer at the end of most of our podcasts, but please only do so safely.